not start recording. But it
Me
makes
too, very good.
it makes a different change to me just forgetting to record altogether. So
yeah. Oh, Justine, art director.
not
No, I
start
know who
recording.
she is.
But it
Me
makes
too, very good.
oh, go away. Live stream's up.
Live stream's up.
What happens when you share audio? So Tom said he was going to join us in the live stream today, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't know if he will. I just tagged him in a thing.
Pringle? Do you want one?
Yeah, why not? I'd love if I just had a box of Pringles here.
Oh, it's not fair. Like last week we were actually together and you could have shared a Pringle.
No.
Hang on, no, that's weird. We don't share Pringles. That's weird.
Yeah, we do. Share a lot of things, so Pringles are the minor ones. Oh, like what is going on?
Oh.
Just
there he is. He's
down
here.
Huh?
He's there. Big Chungus.
He is. He's named himself Big Chungus.
Yeah. His PlayStation name is Big Papa Chungus.
Big Papa Chungus.
Yeah. I think it's because he's got a big willy.
Oh, does he?
I don't know. It's contrary to popular belief.
Well, you would know.
Yes,
like
Darren,
Tom's like the other woman.
Pringles with you, this Darren.
Right, this is not a clever idea. I've got birth certificates and Coke next door to each other. That is not a clever idea.
Like a proper hooker.
This is not like fuck's sakes. Oh, modern world. We'll ask you, Mrs. Big Chungus.
That's a sore subject.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, well done.
Ah, shit. Sorry, Tom. Sorry. I can't keep up with the gossip.
No, it's fine. Don't worry.
Sorry, Tom.
Anyway, should we start the podcast before we...
Yeah, let me stick my foot in another place.
Any more people of the one people or two people in our live chat?
Who are the two people in the live chat? Am I one of them?
I think I'm the other one.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, hang on. Two people are watching. Am I one of those people? Or are you one of those?
Well, I'm on the live stream, so if you are as well, and so is Tom, that should be three.
Do you know what? So... I'm one of those people. I've got Sky. I've just paid out for YouTube Premium purely for one reason. Because I like watching Ted's Notebook and the F1 show on YouTube because it's on demand and it's instant almost. Okay. But I'm fed up of the Peroni advert that plays in front of every single thing. So literally the Peroni advert has made me go Prime because I'm so fed up of it.
I've got Premium at the moment because there was like a 3-month free trial.
All right.
So
yeah, I've got free trial as well for a month. You keep on saying I don't know.
I'm not renewing it. I'm not renewing it. I've found absolutely zero benefit from it. The wife loves it.
Has Tom now gone? Have I pissed him off? I'm sorry,
Probably,
Tom.
Yeah. My wife loves it because it means that she can go to sleep listening to ASMR and doesn't get interrupted by like adverts playing really loudly. So yeah. What?
Oh no, I'm thinking of mukbanging.
No. ASMR. Very different thing.
Yeah. Listening to mukbanging.
No, she wants to go to sleep to the sound of me eating. She can do that most of the time anyway, because I'm always eating in bed. Anyway, should we start this podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
Max Verstappen has taken the checkered flag to win.
I'm going to chow down.
That was absolutely brilliant.
It's a mukbanging.
Is giving it everything. Oh no, Maggie, that was so not right. Goes Leclerc, through goes Hamilton. Unbelievable stuff. And into each other goes Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez. And at the back, that's George Russell out of this race. Daniel Ricciardo makes contact there with Kevin Magnussen, and there's a second contact.
I've got nothing to say. Are you going to start?
Right, what have I got to say?
I don't know.
It's too hot to even think. It's too hot to think.
It is
And,
32
like, we've
degrees
got,
in
like-
the UK today.
I feel like I'm in the bloody Paris Dakar at the moment because I've got more of the Saharan desert on my car than I swear the Saharan desert has.
Well, our next door neighbours are doing a lot of building work at the moment. So every
So
time
are
I
our
wash
next
my
door
car,
neighbours.
every time, and so are you. But every time we get,
We
every
are our
time
next door neighbours.
every time I wash my car, it just gets covered in brick dust again within 2 days. Like, there's just no point. So, yeah,
Just
great
have a
fun.
dirty car.
Yeah. How are you? All right.
Yeah, good. Although
Yeah.
my Merc decided to do what most Mercs do and have a dodgy battery issue. So that's been
Okay.
fun.
Does it have a temperamental, pretentious prick behind the wheel?
Yes, who's English and a bit of a pretentious cunt. Yes.
Okay, well, you can take your pick as to which driver referring
Yeah.
to there. The Volvo aren't in Formula One, so there's not really anything
No,
I can
you're
do
in-
with mine on that. But
Are they still in touring car?
I don't know. I don't watch touring cars.
No, no one watches. Who
Too many
watches touring car?
roofs. Too many roofs for me. I don't like roofs.
Roofs.
But yeah, it's
Roofs.
a hot day. Indian summer has
And of
fully
course,
kicked
my
in.
father-in-law. Can you hear that? Okay, my father-in-law has now decided to start chopping trees down, seemingly outside the window.
I can't hear it. All I can
That's
hear is the
all
sound of myself chewing on a Pringle. So.
Nice. That's just going to get really annoying.
Hmm.
Anyway,
that.
we had a race.
We
I
did have a
suppose we
race.
actually had a race.
It was actually a decent race. It was 14 laps of a good race anyway. And then after that, we didn't really care about who the winner was again.
Yeah, but it's nice to see someone in. Nice to see Max Verstappen for a while because we
Mhm.
never see Max. Normally he just goes and the director forgets that he's even there.
Yeah, it was nice to actually like look back at the field and say, well, do you know what? I remember absolutely nothing about Hulkenberg and Magnussen's race. I remember nothing about Sargent's race, and from what I understand, it was quite we didn't see the clash with Bottas, I think it was, and we didn't see various other things like Piastri and him clashing, and we didn't see any of that because the action up front was just so good. I mean, not so much for the win after lap 14.
Ocon retired. Don't remember that at all.
I remember him retiring, but I don't remember why.
I don't know anything about him retiring.
Yeah, I just remember them saying he's retired. And
really?
And Gasly, a very uneventful P15, I think it was. I can't even.
You're giving away all the secrets as to what happened.
Yes, a P15. Yes, sorry. Yeah. So, what do you think happened, Carl? Let's go.
What do I think hit? Well, welcome to Italy, the other Italy. Well, this one happened this year anyway. So even before we start, we've already got drama with Yuki Tsunoda deciding to pull up because his engine's blown up. Poor Yuki on that one. I think it would have been a good race for him had he actually got in there. There was some weird statistic that I saw, and this is nothing to do with my race thought, but there was some weird statistic that if Yuki was in it, raced, then Max Verstappen wouldn't have won. I don't know how that works. Can someone explain that to me?
No,
I don't even know how the statistic works in that one. It was one of those, those random clickbaity things. Like, just looked at it and I went, yeah, that makes no sense. Anyway, well, we're all having a lovely wait, a bit like that discussion there. What took so long to get the pit crew onto the track? I don't understand that. What were they waiting for? That's why I don't. Apart from 2 Alfa Romeo guys who jumped the pits, did they ever get reprimanded? I'd like to know about that.
They did not.
Oh, interesting. We'll expect why they should have. Anyway, when we eventually got off 23 minutes later, a very clean start. Somehow, like compared to F2 and F3, which was like Crash Bandicoot or Mario Kart, where everyone got smashed out of the way. This F1 race was very clean. Sainz blocked Verstappen, and Leclerc nearly got Hamilton. Albon was all over for Piastri, and then eventually gets him. Lap 4, and we're in DRS train a little bit. Lap 6, Max tries to overtake Sainz and has to back out. Lap 11, Perez trying it on Rude Russell. Oh yeah, he started being rude, didn't he, at some point in the middle of it? But nothing exciting happened. Lap 15, we have a new leader, the same as always. Sainz locked off, Norris complaining he's not fast. He's complaining he's faster than Piastri. I called that a long time. I questioned it, and I even said, yeah. And Perez overtakes the twit. Normal service, basically. Lap 18, pit The fecking Ferraris. Just pit them. I don't understand why they're out. What is going on? Why Ferrari being Ferrari? I don't understand this. Why are you not pitting them? The tyres are going off. Pit signs. Lap 19, pit signs. Do the undercut. Try and at least fight. Do something. Like, it's like, that thing of that character of just do something. It's like, yeah, it just felt. And eventually, lap 20, they eventually pit. But they could have pitted 2 laps earlier. I don't understand. The tyres were going off. They could have put on the hards, which would actually seem to come alive in this race. Anyway, lap 22, Russell and Ocon being investigated. Fuck knows why. Not a fucking clue. I haven't got a fucking clue. That's what happened. Didn't see it. Haven't got a clue. Like a lot of this race. Didn't see it. Haven't got a clue. Anyway, lap 24, the McLaren's having a squabble and weirdly being noted. Why bother? They're fighting each other. Who gives a flying feck? Like, if they smash into each other, as long as they don't harm each other or harm the race, who gives a feck? Anyway, Leclerc is defending. I don't think any penalties happened there anyway. Leclerc is defending like a god against Perez. Perez is trying. The bull eventually gets the old horse and lap 32. Lap 40, absolute bollocks from McLaren. Pit to overtake and what? End up behind Sargent, ahead of Sargent, behind Hamilton. I smell bullshit. I think we all did. What was that about? Yeah. Like, why? Like, what was that radio message even about pitting the McLarens? Like, who was going to fall for that? Do you think Williams are that stupid? If I can understand it, I'm sure Williams can. Anyway, Piastro, no idea who Piastro is, but he's racing, and Hamilton have contact and managed to save it, but Piastri was with damage. Yeah, we'll come back to that. Was it Hamilton's? Was it Piastri's? I felt like a bit of an Albon moment back in 2021 Albon when he decided to just lob his wheels and had no idea of the width of his car. Anyway, so lap 42 and both Mercs have a 5-second penalty. So Russell must have got a penalty for whatever he did with Ocon that no one really saw. Perez eventually gets signs in lap 46. The Ferraris are fighting, dirty fun. Ham has got Albon, but he can keep close. And there was, all right, I got argued that Norris did not overtake take Albon, but Norris did overtake Albon and then he immediately got it back. So there was a point where Norris was ahead of Albon. Which I thought actually stuck, but it hadn't stuck. I just saw the overtake and just presumed
the difference is there. You said, when did Albon get ahead of Norris? Was that
when did Albon get? Because I saw the overtake. I saw the overtake happen, but I didn't see the re-overtake of Albon getting it. So in my mind,
straight
Norris, away. I know, but in my mind, I didn't see that. I don't know. I must have been typing some bollocks on here. Anyway, bring it home. Keep racing. What does that even mean? The Mercs. Bring it home. Keep racing. What? Are you safe driving?
Wasn't it?
Ferraris. Yeah. Ferraris. Are you driving safely or are you fighting each other? Explain. Anyway, lap 51 eventually. Red Bull 1-2. Ferraris 3-4. Albon, Merc 5-6. And then no, what? How have I got? I don't even know. Oh, Merc 5-6, Albon 7th. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, I've written Albon randomly in the middle there.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
P7. Yeah. Lots in there. So
lots in there, but no yellow flags, no safety cars,
no,
nothing.
It must have been pretty close to one of the fastest races in history when it eventually got going, because it was 2 laps shorter than it was intended to be. So when the green flag actually started and being Monza, it must have been a pretty fast race. I did put I did like tweet Sean and ask him, but I don't think he replied. I haven't.
Well, the quickest race,
but
yeah,
because I don't know what the quickest race in history is nowadays. It may even be Sakir, to be honest, the Sakir Grand Prix. But still, that had safety cars, so that probably wouldn't be the case. But it was. So should we start with each team? I'm going to go through the talking points of each team.
Go on, then.
Just because there's quite a lot to get through there. I kind of want to try and capture everything if we can. There's nothing really to talk about in Red Bull apart from just the gravity of the achievements.
It's usual shit, different day, isn't it? Yay, they won 10 races. Perez
did
still,
all right. He was fine. He
Yeah.
he did okay. He did what he needed. He still
he
wasn't-
did his job for once, which was
Yeah,
shocking.
so I'm happy to just skip on from that. Well done. It was fine. He's got like a 7 in my driver ratings, I think, or maybe an 8.
I
No, he
mean,
got an 8. I gave him an
Verstappen's
8.
drive
It
was very good, but it did
Yeah.
take him a long while to get past that Ferrari.
It did, but that was down to a great rear guard defense from Sainz. So
Yeah.
Ferrari, I think, yeah. So you were questioning the strategy about the undercut. And well, the reason they didn't do it was because he would have come out behind Bottas, and then he wouldn't be able to make any headway anyway. And even if he was then able to get ahead of Bottas, they were so marginal on tires that they then would have had no tires at the end of the race either.
Okay.
So kind of better strategy in their mind. You can roll the dice and say, well, let's try something different and see what happens.
But then we'd all be shouting Ferrari.
Yeah, there may have been.
Ferrari.
There could have been a situation where
Was it the safer bet to hold him out?
Yeah, but there could have been a situation later on if they'd stopped him. There could have been a situation where there was a, they had track position. There's a late red flag, and they could change their tires and then go to the end. There's something that could have happened. Nothing was going to happen realistically, but that at least.
Well, I'm surprised
at that point they knew. At that point, Ferrari knew they weren't going to win the race, so they went with the strategy that could gave them the best odds of the second and third.
Yeah.
And as it was, they got a third and fourth. So it's fine. I think they did nothing wrong, but they did nothing spectacular. They could have tried something else and it might have come good, but in reality, probably wouldn't have actually made any difference to the strategy anyway, because Russell was so far back. So I think they could have done more, but equally, I don't think it would have changed the result. So no problems, but just not wowed.
Yeah.
They did what they were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Again, so that's Perez and the Ferraris doing what they're supposed to do. Fantastic. The Mercedes
Apart from fighting each other.
Yeah, both Mercedes getting a 5-second penalty.
Well, I don't know what happened to Russell.
Russell's one, he got involved in a race with Ocon when he wasn't in a race with Ocon. I can't remember if it was lapping him or if it was just passing him on a different tyre delta. But he just went past him, overtook him off track, and then didn't get the position back. You know how we saw loads of people passing and then giving the position back straight away, which I think is what happened with Norris and Albon. Yeah. Norris got the position, but then Albon just went straight past him again because Norris obviously had overtaken him off track. Russell just didn't do that, so he got a 5-second penalty. I think he decided that, I'm so much faster than Ocon anyway, so I'll just easily make that 5 seconds up. But again, it didn't make a single bit of difference because nobody was within, half the track of Russell at the end of the race, so it made no difference. Hamilton's one, I think it is Hamilton's fault. He's just moved into a position, like he's moved across onto Piastri. Yeah. And Piastri didn't have a car's width, so it's pretty much a slam dunk, I think, to be honest. It's annoying, but it's...
Well, no, yeah, okay. I'm not saying it's Piastri's fault, but there is still
maybe it's a racing incident?
I think it was a racing incident, purely on the basis that he could have gone further over. There was a width there. He could see that Hamilton was there. It wasn't like he couldn't see that Hamilton's rear wheel was in front of his. And he made no attempt to come out of that.
I just think that the position that Hamilton moved into wasn't the natural position for the corner. He was being overly defensive when at that point he didn't need to. He was ahead of Piastri going into the braking zone. It's a left-hander. He's on the inside and he's pretty much completely ahead. Completely ahead. He didn't need to come across so aggressively. And Piastri's entitled to his position on the racetrack as well. And the fact that he moved into Piastri's wheel tracks, and then when he braked, obviously Piastri's going to make contact with it because they're not going to brake at exactly the same time, and they're going so fast. You're never going to be able to keep those wheels interlocked and not have a collision. So it was just unnecessary from Hamilton. I think it was.
Typical Albon. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think Piastri could have done anything to avoid it, and I think Hamilton could have done. So a 5-second penalty is fine for me, to be honest. But I do think that if there was no damage to either car, they probably would have let it go as a racing incident.
Yeah.
I think it's another classic example of policing a result as opposed to an offence.
Yeah.
Which is wrong. It's like if you injure someone in football, you don't give them a harsher penalty because you injured them as opposed to just fouling them. It's the penalty, the infringement is the infringement. The result should be irrelevant.
Yeah.
But let's not kick that ant's nest. Apart from that, though, I mean, Mercedes were just kind of there. They were the third fastest team quite convincingly.
Mhm.
It was just the Red Bulls lining up, then the Ferraris, then the Mercedes, then the McLarens. I mean, I know Albon was in the middle of them, but McLaren were the fourth fastest team, I think, this weekend.
Yeah, they would have been.
Mm.
Off the next. I mean,
I think
Albon
so.
being in there, like the Williams did well this week, but
I expected more. I
From
think
who?
from Williams, I think after Zandvoort, I was kind of expecting this was supposed to be Williams's big time result. And they've had a 7th place already this year. It was just a bit, they were quick, obviously, but
do you know what?
I was kind of expecting them to be pushing for the podium. I thought they were going to be right up there just because this track is so suited to Williams. And the fact that at Zandvoort with no long straights and all twists and turns, they were really competitive. And given just how good they are in a straight line, I thought this was going to be the track that they were, upsetting the apple cart ahead of Mercedes, McLaren, fighting with Red Bull and Ferrari. But
they're like, to be fair on them, they are consistent, if nothing else, with where they are. It feels like the Williams are in safe hands.
Well, one car anyway.
One car, Sargent is questionable. But I mean, safe hands as a company as well, and under Vowles.
Yeah.
Vowles, whatever you fucking call it. I think that you can have. I think that the Williamses are competitive, but they're never going to be a comeback kids. This is not. They might luck out if they do anything, but the fact that Albon is in there in 7th after the Mercs, Ferraris, and Red Bulls is still very good. And bearing in mind the Ferraris brought new wings and everything, the Red Bulls are just undeniably fast, and Mercedes are actually quite a good. That card now it's got some aero is actually all right.
I just thought that they got into a position where because of their straight line speed they were ahead of McLaren and a Mercedes on track. Clearly Hamilton came through and that that's fine, but they were ahead of the McLarens purely because McLaren don't have a good straight line speed, but the McLaren was still the quicker car. So, but they just couldn't get past. And I just thought that meant that they were the 5th fastest team, which, given they're 7th in the championship, genuinely on merit, that's fine. But I expected more than fine. I expected fireworks. I expected them to be the 3rd fastest team. I expected it to be Red Bull and Ferrari.
You'd never expect Williams to be the 3rd
only
fastest
on this
team.
track. This would be, and maybe Las Vegas. That would be the only tracks I would have thought it could have been possible.
Well, Las Vegas is a bit of an unknown of unknowns, and who knows what else can happen.
That's just again 4 long straights and a couple of little corners here and there. So
and a few dead pigs. I just don't understand. I don't think there would have been any chance of them ever being on the podium. I can't imagine them doing that. I couldn't imagine them being in top 5. They are where they are, and they're fine where they are. Bearing in mind, they are a customer engine, followed by McLaren. This year is slightly proving that the actual Mercedes engine is actually possibly the fastest at the moment.
I think the Ferrari,
McLaren and Williams, huh?
I think the Ferraris is the best. I think the Ferraris are the best value.
How's Haas doing? How's Alfa Romeo doing? Remind me of those.
Yeah, okay. So Alfa Romeo are massively underfunded and have been...
and their engine blew up.
Yeah,
that Ferrari's great.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's the quickest. I reckon the Ferrari is the most powerful engine.
Oh, no, it didn't blow up. That was the AlphaTauri, sorry.
The Honda. I think it's I think the Honda and the Mercedes, there's not much between them, but I think
it's the writing on the wall for a Red Bull blow up of an engine now.
I don't think so. It's just one of those.
If
things.
another Red Bull goes on in Singapore,
let's be honest. Max isn't exactly driving that engine at the peak of its need, is he?
Then what is he doing?
What do you mean?
What is he doing? What you're saying he's not driving the engine at that peak of its need. How do you go fast when you don't have to?
Well, it's just like when you've got an engine that you're driving that hard, like it's that last 1%. if you just dial it back 1%, you're going to massively increase the length of the life of the engine. So the trick is you've got 4 engines to last a year, or 4 internal combustion engines to last a year. So the trick is to make them last 4 races in 1 lap.
Yeah.
So that they never blow up in a race situation. Blow up in a practice session, that's fair enough. It doesn't really matter. But they just need those engines to last long enough to get to the checkered flag. And they've got all kinds of ways they can test to see how long the engine's going to last and everything like that. So it's just kind of getting them to last in that sense. And obviously AlphaTauri got that wrong, but because Red Bull have got such a good car that's so well balanced on aero, they can knock it back 3, 4, 5% and it not affect the overall lap time that much.
Yeah.
Whereas just that last screech, that last tiny bit of power is the thing that's going to take the most life out of the engine. So I don't reckon Verstappen's going to have any failures this year. I'm starting to think he is. Well, starting to think Red Bull are going to win every race, which hopefully means that Verstappen's going to win the remaining races, or I'm going to have to buy that sombrero.
Yes.
Which I'm not looking forward to.
No.
But I genuinely don't think that. I don't think Perez will win another race. So I think it's just going to be Verstappen winning all of them.
Yeah.
But the McLarens got a bit feisty, didn't they?
They did. And yeah, them like the Ferraris. I bet it was nice to see teammates battling. I quite like that because they are matching cars and they are matching drivers. And it's interesting. This weekend, who would you say was the fastest? And I know you're slightly biased.
Well, yes, I am slightly biased, but also my bias is based on what I see as well. Yes, Lando Norris is my favourite driver, but I still see the race pace of Lando as being better. I don't think either McLaren would have got past Albon without Albon making a mistake because, or some kind of strategy. But I do think that the race pace of Norris was slightly better. He struggled in qualifying. Hats off to Oscar. He did a fantastic job. He did nothing wrong. He had, him finishing out of the points was nothing to do with him, apart from his collision with Sargent, which gave him a 5-second penalty, which we never saw. He didn't really put a foot wrong all day. I think Norris, the fact that he was right up towards the back of Piastri and pushing and fighting, and was there for basically the whole time. I think his race pace was slightly better, but then we saw when they were the other way around, it's not like Piastri fell back. So we're talking probably a 10th of a second a lap between them. And if Norris is being held up, then Piastri is going to stay right with them. So no, I fully, so much respect for Piastri. And I genuinely think, I'm a huge McLaren fan and a massive Lando Norris fan. I think Piastri is the future of McLaren, not Lando Norris.
Oh, I do as well.
Because Lando Norris will go to another team because he'll run out of patience with McLaren. And that's fair enough. It's been last time McLaren won a Constructors' Championship was 1998. Yeah. So I can see why he would get frustrated.
But unless you're going to end up in Red Bull alongside Max, where are you going to go? I mean, there is apart from there's a new team on the block coming in. Well, there's who knows? Is there 2 new teams? Is there 1 new team? Is there no new teams?
Well, it's just 1 at the moment, and that's just Audi, which is taking over an existing team. But
but then there's meant to be 2 other new teams as well.
I can see if I can see that Lando's got 2 years left on his contract at the moment. That coincidentally coincides with the length of Hamilton's current contract. So that's an option there. If he's going to leave McLaren, it will be for a better team. It will be for a top 3. I can see Ferrari bringing Norris in to replace either Sainz in 2 years or Leclerc if he gets fed up. If he jumps ship and goes to like Red Bull or something.
Why are they getting rid of Sainz? Who's doing his spectacular?
Well, I just don't think that Ferrari. Firstly, I don't think Ferrari rates Carlos Sainz as well as they should do. And I can see Norris jumping to Ferrari. I can see him jumping to any of the top 3 teams, to be honest, over McLaren. But he wants to win with McLaren, much like Leclerc wants to win with Ferrari. I'm just not convinced that because McLaren don't have their own engine deal, I'm not convinced that come 2026 they're going to be in the most favourable position. I think they can win races between now and 2026, which might convince him to stay. But I don't think they're going to be winning any championships in the next 5 years, which Norris really wants. So if there's a team in 2026 that look like they're stolen a march, then I can see him jumping to that team because he'll be hot property.
Yeah. And then it just, if there is the new teams as well, with a GM engine by Cadillac or whatever the other team is, and who knows what engine they're going to be.
Yeah, the other team's high tech, but even if Andretti do come in with General Motors, the engine is not going to be a Cadillac. It will be badged as a Cadillac, but it'll probably be a Renault. And then that's why Cadillac will then start designing their own engine. So they'll probably have a customer deal for a couple of years, badged as a Cadillac, and then start making their own engine from like 2030 or 2028, something like that.
Yeah.
But certainly for 2025, if they do come in 2025, which is what they want to do, then it's not going to be a Cadillac. It's not going to be a General Motors built engine.
Yeah.
So.
I know we're sort of gone off topic, but then the rest of the teams are not even worth talking about. Sorry, AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo.
Well, Lawson did all right. I thought Lawson had a solid result. He's 11th place was strong. I mean, obviously Sonoda didn't start, so we have no idea how good that car would have been, but it was solid. On another day, he scores a point in that car, so that's decent. That's fine. I'm not even going to mention Haas. It's just no point. Not really. I mean, Alfa Romeo getting their first points since Baku.
Yeah.
6, 1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah, Bottas did a good drive, didn't he?
Yeah, I suppose. So that was points in Bahrain, then 6 races without a point, then a point in Canada, then 5 races without a point, then a point in Italy. Great. It's so unremarkable. It's shocking.
Mm-hmm.
And then Joe's bagged a couple of 9th places along the way as well. So they're in double figures.
Although my highlight of the whole weekend was Max Verstappen. Was Hamilton saying that Bottas was a worthier opponent than Perez.
I mean, I agree. Bottas is a better driver than Sergio Perez, or certainly at Mercedes.
Yeah,
I genuinely think, right, if you swap Bottas and Perez around in 2021, I think the championship goes differently.
Okay.
I think Red Bull win the constructors and Hamilton wins the drivers.
Oh, wow.
Because Perez was slow enough that he was interfering with Hamilton when Hamilton had stopped. So he's fast enough to just be in the pit window. I think if Bottas is in that car, he's further up the road and he can't interfere with Hamilton. He's closer to the front. So there's that doesn't affect it. I said the same thing about like if Alex Albon was still in that car. As a result, I think you look at the season, 2/3 of the season, Perez was nowhere near Verstappen and was not scoring enough points. And it's only because of like he held Hamilton up in Turkey and he held Hamilton up in Abu Dhabi. That's the only reason why it seemed that he did a good job, because he did those two things to slow up Hamilton and give Verstappen, the chance. In Abu Dhabi, Hamilton isn't being held up by Valtteri Bottas in a second Red Bull because Bottas is further up the road.
Yeah.
Therefore, when the first VSC happens, he has a gap, he can pit and he comes out. And then when the final safety car happens, he's got fresher tyres. It's a bit of a no-brainer. He doesn't need to make the stop. Verstappen probably still does, but it doesn't make any difference because like the tyre delta wouldn't be as bad. So I genuinely think that if Bottas is a better driver than Sergio Perez in the winning car. I'm not sure about in cars further down the grid because Bottas doesn't appear to have an awful lot in a bad car. So I know Perez does well in bad cars. So, potentially Perez is a better driver in a team
Perez did better in...
I mean, Perez in Sauber scored podiums.
Mercedes, do you know what I mean?
Perez scored podiums in a Sauber and which Bottas has never done. I know it's very different cars now. And, he won a race. I mean, I've spoken about that race and how it wasn't as spectacular as people say, but he still won a race and he got multiple podiums in a Force India / Racing Point that wasn't really worthy of podiums. So he's a solid midfield driver, and Bottas I think is more suited to being up front. So for a top driver, I
think Bottas is really loving life at the moment.
I'm not sure why. I wouldn't be loving life. I mean, he's still
because he hasn't got any pressure. He hasn't got any pressure.
Yeah, but he hasn't got any performance either.
Who cares? He's getting paid to sit there and drive around.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like his racing mentality's gone.
Yeah.
The racing, the thirst to win. He's literally there for a paycheck.
Yeah, he is not going to be there when Audi come in. No way are they going to see him as their lead driver.
No.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
No,
So
he's
just
just
on
there
his,
for a paycheck and a
on his swan
decent
song.
drive. And if he gets some points, grand. He's not there to win races.
No, I agree. Alpine. I mean, I think Alpine's race is just
No idea what happened.
I think their race is just defined by the fact they've got a Renault powertrain in that car, which is supposedly like ridiculously down on horsepower. But they designed the thing.
Yeah,
they're all to the same rules. So
yeah.
I think that's why Alpine was so slow. They'll be better in the next race in Singapore. But,
yeah.
And they've also been very good in the rain, and just every race has had rain since Baku, apart from this one. So Aston Martin, though, I expected more from Aston Martin.
Stop expecting more from these teams
Well,
because they are what they are. They are absolutely what they are. There's nothing.
If Alonso's there fighting with the McLarens and the Williams, then that's fine. That's kind of where I expect them to be. But they weren't. They were clearly off the back of that. They were the sixth fastest team, which is just.
But then they're like Haas. Bear with me while I do this analogy.
Okay,
of
this will
Haas.
be interesting.
They're like Haas. They come out all guns blazing at the beginning because they've been working on their car all year, but then they can't afford or can't think about updates throughout the year, and then they just slide back. And also they've got Stroll. Do you know what I mean? And
I wasn't even thinking about Stroll. I was just more thinking about Alonso.
Yeah, but also they've got Stroll. So as a team, they can't do much. And as a driver, as a drivers, Alonso can't do anything. He hasn't got the car under him there anymore to do anything because they haven't updated the fucker like drastically compared to McLaren or even Williams. And they're not innovative. And they've been waiting for their new garage to be built. And I think that's more important in their mind to have real estate than be a race winning car at the moment.
Their new facility is like world leading.
Yeah, precisely.
Phenomenal facility.
But they haven't got it up. Which
will
help
when
in
they
the
come
future.
when they come to designing cars. It will help. It's a long-term project, so I think it's a case of that they're trying to put as much into next year as possible. Now they stole a march early on, so look, we're not going to come second because Mercedes are clearly better. Let's fight for third with Ferrari, and then see where we end up. But they're not. They're going to finish fourth.
Yeah,
I don't think McLaren are going to catch them, but they're going to finish fourth. Slight possibility of fifth, but. Fourth is a big improvement from seventh that they were last year. But
and I think
even so, I
they'd
just
take that at the moment, and they are a bit, but they don't know really what they're doing or what they're planning or anything. And how long has Alonso got on this contract now? He's
got one more year.
Yeah.
No, I think he's got 1 year with an option of another year.
Yeah.
So he's
got. So it's either they're slightly concentrating next year, which I don't believe they are. I think they are concentrating on the 2026 car. I think a lot of people are concentrating on the 2026 car.
That's when they'll be looking to be at the front.
Yeah,
I think they'll want to be winning races.
But the only way they'll do that is by replacing both their drivers. Alonso is brilliant, but I think getting a bit too old.
Well, we'll see. He's 42 now, so in 2026
he's 44.
Yeah, might be 45 and then.
Yeah, so I don't think he's not going to. There's only so long he can last. Yes, he could be an older driver. I'm not denying that, but it's a lot of wear and tear on the body.
It's it certainly would be unprecedented in modern Formula One for a driver to carry on in a competitive fashion that long. He's now gone on as long as Kimi Räikkönen did, and Kimi Räikkönen was a shadow of his former self in his last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So it would be unprecedented in modern Formula One for him to come to remain and be competitive.
Okay.
But that would be So I still think Yuki Tsunoda can end up there, especially with the emergence of Liam Lawson. Now I have a feeling that Yuki Tsunoda is going to end up at Aston Martin to replace probably Lance Stroll eventually.
That's a very strange mix. Why would you put Yuki in there?
Because Honda will be the engine partner in 2026.
Of course he is. Of course.
So,
Ugh.
and Yuki Tsunoda, I think by then, if he has remained in Formula One till that point, I think by then he'll be at a level where he'll certainly be a higher level than Lance Stroll is. I think he already is a higher level than Lance Stroll. But it just depends what Red Bull do, because now they're seeing this new shiny thing from New Zealand. Are they going to start backing him and then put Ricciardo and Lawson in next year and then just sack off Tsunoda? If I'm Williams, I'm inquiring to Red Bull about the availability of Liam Lawson.
Okay.
To replace Sargent.
Lawson to replace Sargent. Yeah.
That would be
when? This year?
Next year.
Next year.
Next season. You've got to give Sargent a full season, but for me, he's not showing anything. Realistically, I think he had a good first race.
Yeah.
Like Tsunoda did in his first year.
Well, the problem is Albon's fucking screwing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole Kubica Latifi thing, isn't it? When you're paired up with Russell, you just, whatever Russell does, it makes you look like a mug in the other car. And the same thing that Norris was doing with Ricciardo in the other car, and Perez with Verstappen in the other car. If you've got one guy who is comprehensively getting everything out of the car and is at the peak of his powers, you're going to look a bit silly.
Yeah.
And I think Logan's in Formula One a year too early. I said that last year. I maintain that. At no point this year has he looked like a solid future Formula One talent. You know, he looks like he could be a Formula One driver. But
would you put Stoffel Van Dorn in or someone else?
I mean, Stoffel, I think he deserves another shot. I think Stoffel would do better than Lance Stroll in that Aston Martin. He is contracted to Aston Martin.
Yeah.
They're not gonna get rid of Stroll unless Stroll decides he wants to go. Let's be honest. But I think give it a couple more years, and I think even Lance Stroll will want to go. Yeah. Because what will he be then? He'll be like 28 or something by then. And once you get to that age, if you're still not winning races, you're not going to be winning races. Yeah. Because you would have done by now.
Go and have a different life almost.
And he's a decent driver. He could go into sports cars and carve out a very decent career. He could go into endurance racing and again be a very, very good, strong, popular driver. But in Formula One, he just doesn't have that final edge. And there's no shame in that at all. It's the best drivers in the world in Formula One. He is a solid, very talented driver. I just don't think he's got that final edge to take him to the top of Formula One, which again there's no shame in that at all.
Yeah. Cool. So there was a bit of breaking news.
There was, yes, which has just happened actually. Oh, shall I do the bumper? That'd be a good idea.
That's right. That was the hint. I don't know. I think I spoke over that. That was a bit weird.
That's fine.
And it just going. Ooh. Anyway, you sound like you're having a shit. Breaking news.
I never do that while I'm having a poo. Yes. So
breaking news.
It turns out all those rumors were bullshit.
Bullshit.
Yeah, absolute bullshit. Every team stayed within the cost cap. Yeah. And part of me, I saw that and I was like, that's ruined cost cap recognition day for me. But then part of me was just like, you know what? That's just what the sport needed.
What? They're all level.
Yeah. It's just like no cheating allegations, no mudslinging, and we could just get on with it now.
Oh no, I quite like the idea of mudslinging. It's part of the drama. That's the thing with Formula One.
Netflix will hate it. Netflix will be like, "Oh, but I heard that Mercedes spent an extra 20 grand here that they didn't tell you about." Netflix would be like trying to make it happen, but especially if it was Mercedes, like to be like the counter of the Red Bull from the previous year or Ferrari, But no, it's great that they've actually done it. They've managed to stay within the cost cap, and we can actually move forward from here now.
No. What they've managed to do, Tom, is manage to buy enough sandwiches and hide the budget.
Oh yeah, they've got better accountants now. Yeah, that's all it is. Yeah, they know how to hide stuff better.
Yeah, they've worked out how to hide it better.
Yeah,
that's what's really happened. Let's be honest. The accountancies.
I'm not sure. Like every Formula One team has more money and more staff and more resources than the entire FIA. So are you telling me that the FIA are able to go through every team's accounts and pick out that creative
exactly.
account. They've got the best minds in finance working on these.
Yeah.
To squeeze every little penny out of it. And I guarantee there'll be a budgetary meeting and it'll be Christian Horner or insert other team principal here. They'll all be at it and it'll be right. So the budget's 140 million. What's our actual budget? Oh, well, I can probably stretch it to 160. Yeah. That's what it'll be.
It's exactly the same as the film world. Like we get given a budget and it's like, but it doesn't matter if you go over it because there's always money there. I don't know where this money comes from. It's magic money. It just makes itself. It's hilarious. And like you sit on the budget and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go over that. And they're like, well, give me a budget that's under it. Fine. Make up a make-believe budget. Come in at the exact same budget that I told them originally. And they're like, yeah, that's grand. It's just like, why didn't you just give me the budget in the first place?
It sounds very similar to my old job as well, where I would be doing forecasting for work hours and gross hours and everything. And I would spend a lot of time doing it. And I'd send it to my boss and he'd be like, I'm not accepting that forecast. I'm like, okay, well, you asked me to forecast how much I'm going to spend. I'm telling you how much I'm going to spend. It's like, well, you need to reduce it, knock 200 hours out of it. I'm like, well, I can knock 200 hours out of it, but I'm going to go over it. So we'll just do the best you can. And then the conference call next week will be, how are you doing the numbers? I'm 180 hours over. Oh, okay. You did the best you could. She was like, oh, for God's sake.
But that's the thing with all these budgets. And it's just like, it's amazing. Like bearing in mind, so you've got with all these companies, like this is the spend, isn't it? It's 140 million spent.
I think it's 135 now, actually.
135 spend.
Maybe that's this year.
Spend.
Yes, spend.
Spend, not including multiple factors.
So there are a lot of factors in here, like the driver's salaries and the top three earners with the team aren't included. But what they'll do is...
hang on, okay, so the top three earners of the team, such as Lance Stroll, who's officially chairman of the thing, does he count?
Lawrence Stroll, you mean?
Lawrence Stroll, sorry. Lawrence Stroll. Does he count? No, he's on a different books. So it's amazing. So he's seconded on free. Do you know what I mean? Apparently, if they need to take the money, he will.
Yeah,
it's like
Helmut
Marko. Who's Helmut Marko getting paid by?
Yeah, Adrian Newey, like the aerodynamic genius.
Yeah,
has come under Red Bull powertrains.
Yeah, which means
his wages aren't included in the cost cap.
Yeah, which means that someone else's are. Yeah, so it's complete. Like, so you've got powertrains, you've got the Honda engine, so let's just go with Red Bull, okay? You've got the powertrains, okay? But you've also got Honda who are involved in it, so that you can hide people in Honda, you can hide people in powertrains. You then hide people in advertising and marketing and all that bollocks, sandwiches. You can move around team principals.
Well, this was the whole thing with the whole...
Who's Helmut Marko? Who's Adrian? Who's what's his chop? Is that Red Bull as a whole? Because he's over both Alpha Tauri, in theory.
No, technically, so Helmut Marko is a Red Bull advisor, so he wouldn't be linked to any of the teams. He's just an advisor. So I guess they would have to quantify the work he does and allocate it to the team that he's doing that work for.
But whose budget? But surely that no, because that comes under Red Bull Industries, let's call them that.
To be honest, that would probably come under AlphaTauri because most of the work he does is related to AlphaTauri because it's about young drivers coming in, which don't end up. And then he'll just make comments about Perez and Verstappen and stuff. So I don't think he's...
But he's always there with the Red Bull.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And but he's so probably getting paid by Red Bull.
And also, you telling me...
Enterprises say.
All those aerodynamicists that work for Honda in Super Formula and all these other, racing series across the world,
backwards and forwards.
You're telling me they're not going to say, there's somebody that's working in IndyCar, say, and they're just like, let's just investigate to see if this will work in IndyCar. Then when it doesn't, just give us the blueprints.
Yeah. But that's the same with McLaren.
So much,
that's the same with McLaren.
Well, not so much McLaren because it's an aero spec formula.
Sorry, no, hang on. Yeah, but it's not just the aero spec. It's also the engineering. The engineering. Hang on. So McLaren have, but also McLaren are very clever because they've also got the simulator championship team, or whatever they call themselves.
Yeah, and they've also got
the esports team,
and Formula E,
and Formula E. And Extreme. So must be data flying. How do you even manage?
That's what I mean. It's
Zach
impossible.
Brown. Who's he getting paid by? Because he's the CEO of the company. It's such a mess to even attempt to try and work out the figures.
So the cost cap comes under the racing team.
But hang on, but that's only a DAC company. I don't what's it called in the UK? It's not DAC, it's the DAC's here. But that would come under a company that is formed purely for that event. Designated activity company is DAC over here, which so in my world, my company is Skycloth as a film company. If I create a production, I would create Skycloth, insert production name here, as a separate company, nothing to do with Skycloth. So things move backwards and forwards. So if that goes bust, I don't go bust, and it doesn't affect me. So, but that's what they're doing. It's so messy. Like, how do you even try? Yeah, okay, the Formula One team, but so many people are seconded on into that Formula One team, and and like, who's paying for things like? So in Ferrari, they have the Shell oil testing or whatever it is, fuel testing laboratory. Who's paying for that? Is that Shell? Is that a sponsorship? What other teams are they having to pay for similar services elsewhere? It's just such a mess.
Yeah. So basically what we're agreeing and what we're saying out of this is that the budget cap is basically a load of bollocks, and it's just a financial exercise to come under the budget. And if you go over budget, then it's because you've got shit accountants and should sack them. So
there's no way we can go over budget anymore because there's no way.
I'm going to move on from this now because I think
but I like business. This is my.
I know. Right. What do you reckon? Driver of the day.
Driver of the day.
Same as last week's album. Was that our last week's? Can't remember.
I mean, he was my honourable mention, and he's my honourable mention again.
Yeah.
I'm saying Carlos Sainz. I think he defended so well, and for me, like, I know Tom Downey on Grid Talk didn't agree with me because he said, first to third, well done, chicken, and I get that, but that Red Bull was so much faster than the Ferrari, and he defended like an absolute demon, completely shagged his tyres, defending from so well, which meant that his teammate on much better tyres was coming at him, and he still managed to keep a podium. So for me, he's driver of the day. But another respectable and honourable mention.
He came third and started on pole. Yeah, go figure.
But yes, no, I agree, but equally context. There's so much other stuff going on in that race. So for me,
he
it's
started on pole, came third, and you're driver of the day. Okay, fair.
Yeah, 100%. Right.
Mine started in seventh and finished in seventh. At least he stayed where he was meant to.
It was a solid drive. It was absolutely phenomenal drive. But yeah. Okay, Dick of the day.
Who's our Dick of
right.
the day?
AlphaTauri pit team for jumping the wall when they shouldn't have, but then should that also be FIA? Alfa Romeo, sorry. Alfa Romeo. But then should it also be the F1 FIA? Because why did they not allow them out for fecking forever?
Yeah, that was a weird situation. I think they didn't want to fly the red flag because then people could all make changes to the car. So they just basically did nothing. Like, just abandoned the start. And to be honest, they could have done another formation lap and then started the race.
But it was red flag.
No, they didn't. No, it was never red flagged. They aborted the start. They went around the second time, and then the car still wasn't clear. So when they pulled up on the grid, they didn't do anything. The lights just didn't change. There was no aborted start. There was no red flag.
But then they did allow the team on.
Yeah. But they weren't allowed to make any changes to the car. If it was a red flag, they could have made changes to the car.
So what was it then? Why? Hang on. So what was that? If it wasn't a red flag,
I don't know. I guess a delayed
should not be on the team. Was it a delayed start, which means
a delayed start, I guess. But there was no indication. So yes, I reckon probably. So you're going to go for what, the Alfa Romeo mechanics for jumping the wall?
Possibly as a safety hazard when, in theory, no one knew what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, it was. And I'll just go.
Stupid.
I'll just go for stewarding in general for just not telling us what the hell was going on and ruining the start. Yeah, but it felt like the teams
didn't even know as well, and that was the weird thing. Like,
it certainly felt that way. I don't know how it actually was, but it certainly felt that way. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
Well, just the time that was that waiting, and if it was an aborted start, then they should have been allowed on earlier. If it was a red flag and they were questioning whether it was, it just was 23 minutes after, and it wasn't an aborted. It was just a bit strange.
Yeah. But anyway, Singapore in a couple of weeks. Got a week off, and then we're going
Is
to
that
the.
like a stupidly early in the morning one?
No, it's not. It's a late
Oh,
evening
that's the
one.
normal one.
It's a late evening one because
Oh, is it?
it's in Singapore and it's late at night. It's a night race, so it'll be evening for us.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact time, local time for us, but yeah.
Hang on, I'm going to find out.
And we've got a new layout as well because
What?
there's been some building work. Obviously, in the city, they've done some building works in the city, which means they can't use the existing road layout. So we've now got the bit where you used to go around into the final section, and you kind of turn left, right, and then right, left. You now can't do that anymore. It's just a big long straight now. So,
Oh, it's still on Singapore on the track.
yes, it's exactly the same track. It's just they can't use the same layout because the roads don't exist anymore. So they've just got a slightly different layout, but it's still the same track. It's just you just got a few less corners, so it'll be slightly quicker, which means it might give us an overtaking opportunity.
The race is at 1:00 UK Irish time.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
So there we go.
It has been later in the past.
Then we go for the horrid ones. Oh no, then we go for Japan, which is 6 a.m.
Japan's cool. I like Japan, and then we've
Yeah,
got
of course you do.
Qatar. Is it?
Qatar,
Yeah,
then US,
Mexico,
which are
Brazil.
late evening ones.
Yeah,
Which,
US,
like,
Mexico,
I hate
Brazil.
these. Hate these that go late evenings. Actually, that's really bad time. 8 o'clock's kids in bedtime. Horrific time. Like,
Doesn't affect
they
me.
need to think this through. 6 o'clock, horrific time. All right, if the race goes ahead, fine, but no. Mexico, Brazil, 5 o'clock. That's fine. I can cope with that. Dinner time. You have to have an early dinner.
And then we've got
Las Vegas, 6 o'clock in the morning
Yes.
to have
I'm
a
up at-
night race
I'm up at that time anyway. It's
in
great. Love it.
November. It's going to be so dark.
I'm up at that time anyway. It's great. I love 6 a.m. races. Bring them on. I'd like them all to be that time.
No, because then I sit around all day just going, what am I doing? Because
Well, I
there's
can
no
get stuff
F2, there's no support race, there's nothing.
I can get shit done.
Have to watch all that at night, you know.
Speaking of getting shit done, let's get this podcast done because
Right,
I've got
bye.
things to do. So great. Thanks a lot. We'll speak to you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. So going back to that business stuff,